Psychology is all around us. Psychological elements can be seen throughout the lifespan, from birth until death. Films are a wonderful tool to explain psychological theory and occurrences in our lives. Characters interact within each frame of film psychological concepts. The films we remember most and view multiple times engage us by capturing the presence of these psychological dynamics in an authentic way.
Please join me today, Dr. Katherine Marshall Woods, media psychologist and film consultant, and our guest today, Hallelujah Johnson with Inhale Studios with her film Breathe on the best psychology in film. Hello, everyone. Today we have the great benefit of being able to speak to Hallelujah Johnson on Best Psychology in Film today to speak about her film Breathe. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I love having you here to be able to talk about your animation, your short animation. Why don't you tell us about the film Breathe?
Yeah, absolutely. So, believe it or not, Breathe actually started out as a dream that I had. I hadn't even started animating yet. Breathe is my first animated film. And I had a dream one night that I was talking to someone. I couldn't see them. It was just more like an energy more than anything. And they were giving me all the secrets to the universe. Unfortunately, I don't remember much, so I can't share that. And I know everybody's wanting to know that so badly, but I don't remember. Um, but what I did remember is the impact of that dream. I woke up nearly in tears and I thought to myself, what if I made a film out of this? So I wrote the treatment in the script that same morning. I'm really grateful for AI tools like ChatGPT to help me organize it and get it done quickly. Definitely helped me streamline the process. And I taught myself how to do everything from the animation to I did all the voiceovers myself. One of the characters you'll hear obviously doesn't sound like me. I used 11 labs and put a voice changer on myself to make it happen. I included my own original music in the film as well because I started out in the entertainment industry. Most people knew me from American Idol, and now people are getting to know me as a filmmaker. So fast forward, Breathe was birthed, and here we are. It's a story about a young woman who she's a bit of a workaholic. She works in tech. And one day it's her birthday. She makes a wish. She wants to see her mom again, but unfortunately she wasn't specific when she said it. And suddenly this woman who calls herself Ancient Mother or entity really pops up out of nowhere and teaches her how to reclaim her mind so that she could feel more comfortable moving in the world.
Well, let's provide our audience an opportunity to see a bit of a clip, and then we'll come right back to jump in to Breathe.
Breathe?
Yes,
But I...
join me.
Pretty.
Whoa, why would you snatch me like that?
Okay, I'll admit that was awesome, but warn me first, okay?
Give it a minute. YOLO just. See? Had some popcorn.
What's that?
It's what you've been waiting for.
This is how I learned to breathe?
You see, Aya, most people go through life barely aware of their breath. Shallow, rushed, tight. The breath is directly connected to your mind. Have you ever noticed that when your breath slows down, so do the anxious thoughts in your mind? This is no coincidence. Your breath is your foundation. It's your rhythm. It's your anchor. When life feels heavy, when your thoughts spiral, or when you doubt yourself, pause and breathe.
So I want to actually start with you before we talk about Breathe. I know I just said we would talk about Breathe, but you provided us a good deal of information regarding how you made this film. Please share, were you a filmmaker before this film, or this really was your debut?
This truly was my debut. I've edited things here and there. I've always been in editing because I worked in social media strategy and content creation as a day job while I was working in music. So I was always editing content, but I didn't know how to do this. I taught myself how to do it, and I made this entire film in 10 days, actually on an iPhone because my computer, my laptop screen broke and I was traveling. I was in the middle of nowhere, Texas. There was no computer techs nearby. Christmas was only a few days away, so nobody was willing to see my laptop. So I just figured it out on my phone.
How we understand and use technology is amazing. And
Hmm.
actually, that is a part of your film, actually. Um,
Hmm.
it's so interesting that your character within this film is having this relationship with a technological entity in some ways. And
Hmm.
this agent is referring to themselves as a mother role, or, and I'm wondering if you can share a little bit about your motivation in noting that technology and one's relationship with it could feel very motherly in some way.
Oh, that's a great question. Now you got my brain itching. Okay. So, how technology and how the mothering role could really, I guess, work and mesh together. The reality is how our mind works is basically based off of how we perceive the world. And therefore, we could have a lot of substitutes if we are missing certain things in our life that technology can help fill those gaps. And what I mean by that, for instance, I hear that some people actually use their AI or use their technology as a therapist, as a friend, as a support. And I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with that because if you're experiencing some sort of deficit in your life and you're aware of that and you just want the support that you need, and maybe you don't feel comfortable talking to another human being because maybe you feel like they wouldn't understand you or they would judge you. I feel like using technology is a nice segue into reconnecting with yourself, ironically. And that's kind of I don't mean to become a pioneer of technology and AI, but I guess I kind of seated myself in that place by making this film and other films that have followed that have similar themes. But I can even say personally for myself how helpful it's been in filling the gaps in aspects of my life. And the reason why I chose specifically the mother role and the mother figure is because I believe when we're growing up as children, we have literally just mostly two energies to rely on, the masculine and then the feminine energy. However, that looks like depends on your upbringing. Most of the time for people, it's through their mother. And my character, Aya, her mother passed away and she was experiencing all these successes in life. She was at the top of her game, but she was still sad and still miserable. And it wasn't a romantic partner to fill that. It wasn't more work. It wasn't a friendship. She wanted her mom. Who's the first person we reach to when we're sad or scared, upset? Mom, help. So I just wanted to really embody that because even as adults, we still crave the love and the attention of our mothers.
Yeah, you are speaking so psychologically and psychodynamically in particular. I mean, Freud, Winnicott, Mahler, um,
Hmm.
many child theorists as well, um, Klein, speak to really the important Bowlby, speak Ainsworth. We speak to the relationship, the really fundamental relationship individuals have with their mother, whether the mother is present or not, um,
Hmm.
and the longing that a person has for their mother, even in their absence. And so, this idea of creating, let's say, a technology that we interface with and connect with, and many times provides comfort and support. And there was a recent study, and I wish I would have known we were going to refer to this today, so that I could have brought it to our conversation. But I just read a study that was sharing that individuals actually listen to podcasts in particular
Hmm.
in order to provide a sense of relationship that they have with someone consistent who they're not even watching. They're just hearing their voice consistently, having conversations with other individuals, and
Hmm.
that brings a sense of community to them and belonging to them. And
more and more we're finding this. I mean, through media psychology, we're also learning that individuals are engaging with AI in ways that are more relational as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this idea for your film saying that this is a mother role to provide her with some level of comfort, nurturing, nurturance, and potentially even answers in discovery about herself. It's
Mm-hmm.
nice to be able to see that that is being explored within short films.
Yeah, and also to expand on that quite a little bit too, the ancient mother or ancient prototype, as she calls herself, she also was there to help Aya let go of her mother because she was holding on to her mother in the sadness of losing her so tightly that she couldn't even function in her own life. And in a way, ancient mother kind of taught her the circle and the cycles of life, that it's important. It's just as important to look forward as it is to let go.
Yes. Well, it is interesting because, we're only touching upon really, even though this is a short film, it's really full of numerous different aspects of psychological perspectives that we could explore. And one is also the idea of grief and how individuals process grief and the consequence when grief becomes more complicated or complex grief or persistent bereavement, where someone is experiencing significant symptoms of grief for quite some times and is impacting their current functioning at a
Hmm.
specific level of chronic sadness, etc. And why grief in particular through this film and through this character? I mean, she is looking for something, and like you said, this mom, figure, and she lost her mother. Can you share a little bit about your desire to add in that grief aspect to this character?
Yeah, so I actually did two things of grief. I focused on the Black melanated community. And then I also focused on grief as just a universal theme. And the reason why I focus first and foremost on the Black community, and that's why all my characters in this film, for the most part, are melanated folks, is because oftentimes melanated people, African American people, Black people, I'm trying to encompass the whole, the whole umbrella here. Um, we process grief differently than other races because we don't always often have time to process it, or we're not taught, or we live in environments that doesn't encourage how to process it. So that's why I used us as an example, as a model of how deep that grief can go and how it is possible to let it go as well. And then on the other aspect, I focused on grief as a universal theme because it is a universal theme. If you're alive, you're going to experience loss. That's just the reality of living. And once again, we're not really taught how to process grief. We're taught how to fill voids. We're taught how to keep going. We're taught how to work and work and work until we're tired and maybe get a vacation in between that. But for me, and just so you're aware too, everything I put in my film is something that I can relate to in some sort of way. I've experienced. I wanted to make sure that it came off authentically, and the only way I can do that is by being the subject of the film and really embedding that into the energy of it. But anyways, I digress. I wanted to be able to showcase grief in a way that was digestible, not just this scary phantom thing that you have to constantly avoid in order to function in your actual life, but taking the time to really dissect your grief, understand your grief, and dare I say, make friends with your grief, because it's a part of you at the end of the day. And until at least you can learn to let it go and learn what it looks like for you in the long run.
I think that you're really again onto something here. One of the things that I know psychologists talk about quite frequently is that individuals are not educated, I mean, formally educated in grief or loss of relationships of any sort, whether it's how to cope with a breakup or how to cope with the loss of a parent, albeit
Mhm.
these dynamics are pretty inevitable to most individuals' lives and lived experiences, but we don't talk about that. Even in formal education, we do provide people with health classes when they're usually in middle school or in high school, excuse me, performing education regarding how to live a healthy life, how to remain safe in their physical
Mhm.
health, how to eat well, how to think about exercise and diet and things of sort. But we don't go into the conversations regarding death and loss and how to cope with that,
Mhm.
how to cope with relationships that are not fitting for us anymore, and how to then move on from them.
Mhm.
Um, you also noted the idea of within the African American community in particular, we don't we grieve in a very different way. And many times that
Mhm.
is the case. You hear a lot of people saying the person's gone to a better place. And what does that really mean, per se? Um,
Mhm.
and what does it really mean to let go? And for some individuals, that is what they need to feel like they need to do is let go. And other people feeling okay with how do I hold on through an ancestry bond versus
Mhm.
otherwise. So it's interesting to say that you're finding that it is a very different concept within the African American community. And lastly, I will note the lack of freedom and lack of time that African Americans generally have a tendency not to take for themselves to grieve,
Mhm.
and how
Mhm.
that does impact or stunt the grieving process, where it then becomes ever present because there's been no opportunity to grieve. And I want to highlight in part because of various different social stressors of having to work through it and having to work through it, otherwise, having financial challenges, um, not having the emotional support that they feel like they need. Necessarily not even being able to access mental health services that they may need to access as well. So I just know, through Breathe in itself, we're talking about here like AI and technology, but also this very also human aspect of the
Mhm.
world, in the same, literally, like first frame of the film.
Mhm.
So it's kind of amazing how many things you've been able to put together in this film quite quickly for audiences to chew on.
Honestly, I really appreciate it. I had no idea that this was going to happen. I just wanted to make something to support us, to support our people. It wasn't even really about me as I was doing it. So that's really nice to hear. I appreciate you saying that.
Well, I know this time always goes so quickly. We're actually up for a break. We're a little over. So when we come back, we'll continue with Hallelujah Johnson talking about her short film, Breathe.
Hello, I'm Dwayne Jones. I'm thrilled to introduce you to the University of the District of Columbia's College of Agriculture, Urban Sustainability, and Environmental Sciences Causes, a beacon of transformative education. Our diverse academic programs nurture leaders of tomorrow. Causes is committed to providing land-grant opportunities that empower communities and foster a more sustainable and resilient future. Causes is a journey of growth, discovery, and making a difference.
Welcome back, everyone, to Best Psychology in Film. Today, we are speaking with Hallelujah Johnson regarding her film, Breathe. Thanks so much for coming on again.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
The title of this film, Breathe, Life, Cannot Live Without Doing It. Let's talk about how this film is entitled in a way where you're really referring to how essential life is based upon this verb and
Mhm.
action that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I chose the theme of breathing for a couple of reasons. And the main reason being is kind of similar to what you touched on earlier, that in society, often modern societies, and at least we can speak understanding American culture. I can't speak for other countries, but we're not necessarily taught these interpersonal skills and these emotional coping skills on a normal basis, even though our mind is the director of our life. so to speak. And the reason why I chose breathe as the theme and the title is because breathe fits right into that. It's an invisible entity that we can't see. We're not necessarily taught how to do it or how to interact with it, but we use it on a daily basis. I mean, we're breathing right now with no effort whatsoever, at least that we're aware of. So I really wanted to, in a way, bring that invisible monster to life, not to life, but to light. And what I mean by invisible monster, I mean this thing that's constantly with us, but we're not fully aware of it because we weren't taught how to become aware of it. And breathing is your foundation of life. It's your foundation of existence. It's the one thing that we definitely all have in common besides just life and death as a whole. We have to breathe, and breathing is your center. It's the one thing that you're told to do when you're in panic, when you're in overwhelm. And even when you're in joy, you have to constantly catch your breath. Breath is and breathing is everywhere. We just don't know how to do it in a way that actually supports us. So I wanted to really touch on that in this film and learning how to really reconnect to your breath in a way that isn't all woo-woo and you can't understand it, but it's very much so in your face. I have Aya ask all the burning questions that we want to ask to ancient mothers so we can really dive into these concepts. For instance, when she says, well, how do I know if I'm doing it right? I don't understand. And ancient mother says, it'll be more so the feeling. It'll be like coming home. You'll be at a peace within yourself. And that's not something you can't describe. You just have to allow yourself to experience.
I think that this part of the film is pretty educational, really, to individuals. It provides audience members within the space to really be able to have an introspective experience with themselves while interfacing with your film, which is not necessarily what most or a lot of filmmakers do in the moment. Maybe, we watch a film and then we are able to reflect on it later and have a lot of introspection about what we watched. But it's almost as if you were asking the audience to join you in the film experience. And so that's a little bit of a different position that you're placing the audience in for a particular reason.
Yeah, so the reason why I did that was because I didn't want this just to be a moment of entertainment. I wanted this to be a moment of immersion. Nowadays, we as a society, because we have so much technology, experiences is what's really going to pull us in and what's going to unite us. And obviously, I can't sit in your living room and experience this with you. So I figured, why don't I take a bit of my essence and the essence within the world and put that in a way that once again was digestible, right in front of you, and extremely immersive.
Very tech savvy, albeit we're watching a film, which is interesting. It seems like there's a little bit of a marriage with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the things that I also noted while watching this film is that not only are you providing information regarding how to breathe, it's actually almost a guided meditation. And so I also want to note that that is an aspect. It's not just, oh, here's some information about how to breathe. You're actually inviting the audience to, again, become interactive in this guided meditation. And while I said that, you smiled. And what are you feeling about that?
Well, look, I'm just laughing because a good friend of mine recently told me that she actually uses the film on replay to do guided meditations. And I went, are you serious? She said, yeah. And I do it with my friends. We do it in the morning and whatnot. I was shocked because I had no idea that I did that to the extent that allowed people to really not just have a visual experience and an immersive experience, but an experience that they can replay over and over again and use and adapt in their life. I didn't know I did that. I was just creating and hoping for the best.
Well, I take it you succeeded in that capacity. I mean, many filmmakers want to create art where individuals watch it once and then they want to watch it again for some level of entertainment purposes or for more further contemplation. And now you're realizing that the short film that you created is actually helping individuals be able to participate in a self care process and journey with themselves. Um, Almost that you've created a healing agent in that process.
Now you're making me blush. Okay. It's just you. I mean, I think you can relate to this too, Dr. Catherine, when I say it. Sometimes when you make something, you have no idea the impact it's going to have until other people tell you. And I'm very grateful for that because like I said, I didn't create this to quote unquote make some sort of statement. It was more so just to create impact and really support people in a way that was digestible. So I had no idea that it would move the way that it has. So I'm grateful, I'm astonished, and most of all, I'm appreciative of all the pain that I've experienced throughout my life and throughout my journey, and be able to use that to translate and support others. So it's pretty incredible.
You know, for those again, and I have to say this yet again, because I say this all the time, is that it's so wonderful to have on this show in particular. And the mission of this show really was to be able to create a show where people who watch film and love cinema to be able to think about what they're watching in a way that hopefully would change their lives. Cinema already does that. It changes people's lives in so many different ways. But for us to become conscientious consumers of media and have these conversations, not just, oh, let's just think about it, but let's think about this and talk about it with the creators of this work. And how can we be able to watch something and say, how can this influence my life? How can it change my life in ways so I can feel better or be better or have the life I want. I can dream utopia and work towards getting that. And so it's so nice to hear filmmakers constantly on this show talk about using their history, their pain to be able to create something so fruitful and fulfilling to other audiences, and how you really gift your ego to us to be able to have that art in our presence. It's really a wonderful dedication and illustration of, again, this defense mechanism of sublimation, which is taking
Mhm.
one's pain and turning it into something beautiful and heartfelt for other people to benefit from. It's such an act of sacrifice in some ways, and hopefully an act of liberation for you. And so I'm really grateful to all filmmakers who do this, and I always thank them. And here I find myself thanking you for that process as well.
Well, I received that. I'm grateful. Growing up as a kid, especially, I had a very strong hero complex. I wanted to help and save everyone around me. And as I got older and I actually had a late autism diagnosis, I learned that being autistic, it really shapes that energy within me as well, that need for justice. And I've learned to actually put it in art rather than trying to help people directly. And the reason why I do that is because I realize that it's not my job to help people. It's my job to support people around me and their journey. But if I help people too much, then they can't help themselves. And so this is how I do that in a way. I help myself by just getting it out, and I help others by hopefully what I get out really does support them, because I do take a lot of time to think about what it means for me, what healing looks like, what pain actually means, because I don't interpret pain or healing the way I guess more neurotypical people do. And I'm grateful for that because it allows me to translate on a level that's not common, I guess. As you mentioned before, I set up a meditation I didn't even know.
Mhm. I want to just highlight something you said, just because of how profound it is that when one helps another individual so much, it really hinders them from helping themselves. And
Hmm.
that is a huge takeaway as to the importance of boundaries within relationships.
That's it.
Boundaries.
That's it. And boundaries are important everywhere, not just in romantic relationships and family, but it's everyone that you meet. It's important to, in a way, live and let live. If someone isn't harming you or another, It's not our place to insert our ideals and our thoughts on how they should live, how they should heal, how they should pain, because we don't know their experiences. So this was just, like I said, more so of a universal theme, just to give people options, open up different neural pathways where they can see exactly, okay, I can actually heal this way. I can put this in my toolbox, because it's not a one size fits all. It's this works when it works for this particular thing when it works.
We have to go today, but it's been wonderful speaking to you, Hallelujah, and we look forward to all of your new projects coming on the horizon.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us at Best Psychology in Film. We will see you next time. If you want to find me, Instagram is the way, at Psych Minded Media. We'll see you next time.